So the topic which we are going to start today is design patterns, and the first design pattern which we are going to study is page object model, and then we'll also study one of the important design pattern, that is page factory. Okay, so let's start with the design pattern, that is page object model. Okay, so what is page object model and what is a design pattern? We'll learn both the things in this. So in this previous tutorials, we have learned about how to automate scenarios using Selenium WebDriver. This tutorial will help you understand the page object model. It is important to write your code and automation script in a maintainable, reusable, and extendable manner. These factors will distinguish you as a good automation tester. The design patterns in the framework defines the standard of writing code. Very important point. They help you in maintaining reusability and readability. POM is one such design pattern. See what happens if you will not use any design pattern, then the code which we have written till now, that code is a specific code. You cannot reuse components of that code. Okay, if you just recall whatever we covered so far in last 2 months, what we have done is we have specifically automated certain scenarios. Say for example, if I have to, I wanted to show you something on Guru 99, then I was just doing login, then uh, first I was opening the browser, navigating to the URL, and then logging in, and then if I have to add a customer, then I was adding a customer. Then whatever scenarios were there, I was doing that. Okay, so the code which was written was too specific to the application that you cannot reuse that code in some other application, or maybe in the same application but for some other scenario. The code was so tightly coupled. Okay, so what does this design patterns do? They help us in solving certain problems, which we'll learn in some time what are those problems, and that will also help you in writing the code which is reusable and maintainable. Maintainable in the sense that if let's say something is going wrong, then you can simply uh, you just looking at the code, you'll get to know that what exactly is failing, and where you have to go and change your code. That's how reusable code will be. So I'll show you in some time. Okay, now what does this POM stands for? POM stands for page object model. So what this particular page object model has come from, it's not a new concept. It's a very old concept which has come from developers only. Okay, so what does we do in this is, in page object model there is one-to-one mapping between the Java classes and the page of application to test. Whatever application you are testing and your Java code, there will be a one-to-one mapping. Let's say the application which you are testing has 4 or 5 pages, then there will be one Java class for each page. So there will be a one-to-one mapping. So if let's say I got to know that on my third page or maybe on login page, something is failing, some data is not popping up properly. So in that case, uh, what you'll do, instead of searching everything in the complete code, you will know that okay, my code is failing in the third page, so I just have to go to the third page, check the elements, check the scenario, and you're good. Okay, so that is what this help us. Okay, so what I'm saying is, in page object model there will be a one-to-one mapping between the Java classes and the pages of application under test. For example, let us consider an application which has multiple pages. The example which I just gave, login page, home page, etc. Using page object model design pattern, there will be multiple Java classes, one for login page, another for home page, and so on. Okay, uh, people often get confused between design patterns and framework. POM is a design pattern, not a framework. It's an old concept. Developers are using it to maintaining reusability and readability from a long time. Okay, there are two different POM design patterns which we'll be discussing here. Okay, one of the design pattern is like this, in which your page, whatever you will create, or you can say the Java class which you'll create for a particular page, first will define web elements for that, and then methods will also be defined there and then only. Okay, uh, so there will be a class A which will have only the web elements, and then there will be another class B which will have methods. So we'll be using these web elements in the other class. So this type of design pattern or this type of page object model was something which derived from QTP. In QTP, we have a concept of object repository. So that is the same thing we are using here, object repository kind of thing. Okay, so very simple to understand. Will this POM1 style pattern, it will have multiple classes, class A and class B. Class A will have only web elements, whereas class B will have only methods. These methods will be using the elements from class A. Okay, so this is POM1. If we talk about POM2, POM2 is where we will not be uh, keeping the web elements and methods separate. So here you can see there will be one class, that is class A, where web elements, which acts like an object repository, and methods, both of them are defined in the same class, and those methods are called in class B. Okay, whereas here you will have another class called class C where you will be calling these methods. So it will be like there will be one more class where you'll be calling these methods. So web elements and methods are separated out in POM1, whereas methods and web elements are combined in a class, and then their calling is in third class or second class. Okay, so these are two different design patterns. So if in one shot, what we have to if we have to define what are design patterns, so it will be very simple. Design patterns are way of writing code. They help us in in defining the standards of writing code. They help us in keeping the code reusable, readable, and maintainable. Okay, then talking about what are the different design patterns. So POM is one design pattern. POM stands for page object model. What we do in page object model, in page object model there is a one-to-one mapping between your page, that is application dot test, page of application dot test, and your Java code. So let's say if an application has 5 pages, then there will be 5 Java classes created in your framework. There will be one-to-one mapping with each class. Sometimes it happens that a few of the classes uh, we need to merge sometime. So that's something which you can um, take care. I mean, that's up to you. If you want to take that approach, you can take. Okay, but generally there is one-to-one mapping, and we have seen two different ways of POM. In the first POM, we'll be keeping all the web elements in one class, which will act like object repository. Then we'll keep all the methods possible on that page in the next class, and we'll be using the methods from this class. And then there will be another class which will be calling these methods, that we can call as calling class. This is POM1. If we talk about POM2, POM2 is where we'll have one class where we'll have web elements and methods combined. Then we will have another class where we'll be calling these methods, that is calling class, a class with main method or class with TestNG. Okay, this can be a class with a main method, it can be a class with TestNG, anything. Okay, so that is what POM is. So any questions till now? Now I'll be showing you uh, same thing in the code. So any questions till now? Anyone? Okay, so let this Eclipse open and then I'll show you. Okay, guys, just give me a second. There is some noise coming from background. Let me fix it. Okay, so I'll just close all these and we'll open our project. Okay, in this project, we created one package with name design pattern where I'll be teaching you all the design patterns. So I'll just create one class here. Right click new class. So what I'm doing is I'll just teach you the different design pattern using some of the website. Let's consider any one eBay or Amazon, any one website. So let's start with Amazon. Okay, so this amazon.in is the website. When you open it, let's consider this section only. So what we are going to do is uh, I'll create one class in which all the web elements will be defined and then possible scenarios will also be defined. So we are just considering one simple scenario, that is searching from a drop down. Okay, so if you have to searching for a product and using this drop down as well. So if you look at this here, we have this search box. In the search box you'll be writing any product, and then you have a drop down. In the drop down you can select any one category, and then there is this search button. You have to click on this search button. So this is a small scenario we are going to automate using the different design patterns, and then we'll also discuss about what are the challenges faced in different design patterns and how the page factory is the best one which you need. Okay, so here I'll create one class and I'll call it Amazon POM1 style. Amazon POM1 style. Okay, and click on finish. Okay, so the first design pattern, what it says is, it says that there will be one class in which you will define all the web elements. Okay, so here also we'll be defining all the web elements. Okay, now the scenario which we are going to automate is that I need to search a product. That means I need this search box, I need this drop down, and then I need this search box. Also, these web elements which we are going to define here, they'll be used in some other class. That means I need to define all of them as either public or protected or default, but not private. Okay, so and it might happen that I may call these methods or these web elements in some other class which resides in some other package. So I'll keep all of them as public only. So it will be public. The first one will be public web element. Okay, and the first one will be search box. So I'll just name it search box. Next will be public web element. What else you need? Public web element, and then I need this drop down, right? So I'll just call it as search drop down, or let me just call it drop down, simple. Category drop down. Okay, next is I want to click on the search button, so I'll just call it public void public web element. Then it will be search button. Okay, and this drop down, you know that a drop down is used, or you can say you can access any drop down using select class. That means I need to define an instance of select class as well. So I'll call it public select, and then let's say we call it let me call it search category, and here I'll call it cat dropdown. Okay, this makes more sense because select is for dropdown, whereas this one is the web element, right? So these are the 4 web elements I'm going to work with. So I defined all of them. Okay, now we need to initialize all of them, right? So to initialize, I'll just create one constructor, and that constructor needs to be parameterized. Why we need to make it parameterized? Because all the web elements which I have to define, or you can say whatever you see here, all the web elements which you see here, they they will be initialized using the WebDriver, right? So if you recall how we initialize any web element, that is through uh, web element, the name of the element equal to find driver dot find element, right? So we need instance of driver also. So I'll just say WebDriver driver. Now we have to initialize all of them one by one. So let's initialize. First one is search box. So it will be search box equal to driver dot find element, then by dot, let's see how it can be identified. So the search box, if I identify using Firebug, it has an ID, so I can just copy this ID. So I'll say by dot ID, and the value of ID is this. Okay, next one is we have a drop down. So for this drop down, I'll search, it also has an ID. I'll just copy this ID, and here it will be search category equal to driver dot find element by dot id, and the value of id is this. Okay, next one will be search button. So it will be search button equal to driver dot find element, and let's see how this button is identified. So if you see, this button does not have it does not have any ID, so but it has one attribute which is value equal to go, so we can write its xpath. So the xpath will be double slash input, and then in the square bracket at value equal to go. So as soon as I press enter, you can see that that particular web element is highlighted below. That is one matching node. So I'll just copy it, and here we will simply say by dot, instead of id it will be xpath, and the value of xpath will be this. We'll remove it. Okay, so all the web elements are defined. Now we need to initialize that cat dropdown as well. So it will be cat dropdown equal to um, new select. Okay, and the web element will be what you want to consider as a dropdown, search cat, right? Yeah. So all my web elements are defined now. Okay, all the web. So how this class is behaving, like it has only web elements. That means it behaves like an object repository of QTP. Like in QTP, we used to call it object repository. Here we can call it as element repository. Okay, and the benefit of this is, benefit of defining every web element in a single class is, just consider that in your real-time projects you'll not be the only person working in your project. There can be 4 or 5 team members working on a same project. Then in that case, if everybody is writing web elements of their own, then uh, there will be repeatability of code. Say for example, all these 5 web elements, if somebody else is also writing some scenario on this amazon.in page, then if he is using that particular that same page to automate, then these elements will be defined again. Okay, so not a good way of writing code. What we do, we define it at a single position. Now if somebody wants to use any of these web element, they don't have to define it again. Just create an instance of this class and start using it. Okay, so that's the benefit of keeping everything at one location. So, and another benefit you'll get is, say for example, going forward, a particular web element is being used like multiple times. Say for example, this search button is being used 20 times in your code, in your script. Now, if you're not using this approach of defining all the web elements at a particular location, and you're writing the code the way we used to, which we used to write in last 2 months, then if something changes in this button, search button, then you have to go and change at 20 different locations. Not at all a good way of writing code. So the approach which we are following here, in this you just have to change at only one location, that is this. And it's a very common, you can say, problem we face in real projects. uh, what happens is that these elements keep on changing. So like if you check any alternate build, you'll get some or other web element will change. it's uh, I mean, uh, some of the elements will change their locators, or maybe XPath will break for them, or hundreds of these problems occur on daily basis. So this is a better approach, keeping all the web elements in one location. If something changes at one location, you don't have to go and change at multiple locations. Just come here, change here, and proceed. That's how uh, this design pattern will help you, especially this object repository. Okay, so any questions till now? Okay, now next will be defining the methods also. So I'll create another class. Okay, let's say I'll call it Amazon, or demo Amazon um, pom one style. Okay, so we'll keep this public static void main as well checked here. Now just consider that here I'll be writing the simple scenario of search product. Okay, so just so we'll be using these common libs for calling uh, all those methods which we have written, like invoking browser, open browser, and all. Okay, everything will be used here. So see how we are going to use these web elements and write the search method. Okay, so the first step will be, first of all, I'll be creating the instance of common driver class. So it will be common driver. Let's say I'll call it common driver equal to new common driver. Okay, and here you need to pass the browser type. So let's say I'll be passing here Chrome browser. Okay, and this particular method, if you see, we have written one command that it will throw some exception. So we need to we need to do exception handling here. So I'll just say try catch. Okay, catching what? For now, I'll catch all the exceptions. Going forward, we will handle specific one. So here we'll simply say e dot print stack trace. For now, we're just printing the stack trace. Going forward, we'll replace all these lines with log files. Okay, inserting all the information in logs. Okay, now proceeding with it. Next will be common driver. First step will be you need to open browser and navigate to URL. So URL I'll define here string URL equal to, here it will be http colon double slash www.amazon.in. Okay, so common driver dot open browser and navigate to URL. Then once we are navigated to URL, what will be the next step? The next step will be that I have to write something in this, right? So to write anything, we have created certain classes where we will be using methods from those classes. So if you recall, writing in any text box is written in this text box control. That means I need instance of text box control as well. So here it will be text box control. Let's say text box is the name of the class. Okay, it will be equal to new text box control. Okay, so this is when you have to write something in it. Then we have a drop down, so we need to we need to create an instance so that we can call drop down controls. So here it will be drop down controls, drop down equal to new drop down controls. Okay, so all those methods which we have written here, now we will be using them. Okay, then next will be have to click on this element. So for clicking, we have written the method in common elements. So I'll be creating one instance of common element. So it will be common elements, common element equal to new common elements, and we are done. Okay, one more thing. We'll be using WebDriver instance. Why we need WebDriver instance? Because the class which we have created, this Amazon POM1 style class which we have created, the constructor of that class is calling WebDriver instance. So that means we need the same browser. Okay, so the browser which is being used in this common driver class. So I'll create instance of WebDriver. I'll say WebDriver driver equal to common driver dot get driver. So this gives us the browser instance which is initialized in this common driver class, and that same browser instance will pass in our Amazon home style one. So let's say I'll call it as homepage equal to new Amazon this, and driver instance will be passing. So all the initialization things are done now. Okay, so what we have done is first of all defined the URL, then created an instance of common driver class, then opened the browser and then created the instance of the browser, or sorry, created the instance of the driver class, initialized it with the one which is defined in this common driver class. Okay, then initialize all the classes which we are going to need to interact with the elements, initialize uh, the class file which is defined for the page. Okay, so I'm calling it as home page. Now next step is you need to perform the operation, and operation is search product, right? Searching a product. Okay, so the first step we have is we need to write something in a text box, right? So it will be text box dot, what we have to do, set text, right? Which element? The element which is defined in home page. Which one? Search, uh, search box. And what you have to write? Anything you want to search. Let's say Apple Watch. Okay, this is my first step. Then after writing in the search box, next step will be I need to select from the drop down. Okay, so it will be uh, drop down dot select via visible text, which is the element is home page dot search category, and text visible is, let me see, any one category. So if we are looking for watches, so watches is one category, so I'll pass watches here. Okay, then uh, Next step will be I have to click on an element, so it will be common element dot click, click where, on home page dot search button, and our scenario is done. Okay, so this is how you will write the scenario. See, we are using the class from common driver as well. I mean, we are using these classes as well. Then we created this design pattern, so all the elements are defined in this particular class, and then using those elements to perform the operation. So see how separated out code is. If something changes in the Selenium, then you just have to go to the respective class. Let's say if directly on any browser some changes occur, then you'll go in common driver class. If something changes in text box, you have to go into this class. And if something changes in the web element, then you have to go to this class. Everything is separated out. Okay, one will not affect the other one. The code is written here. Now if I execute this code, it will run simply. Okay, so I'll just execute this code. So you can see it has invoked the browser, and then we'll execute the complete scenario. So you can see it has searched for the Apple watches. Okay, so that's how this is the page, I mean POM1 style, or you can call it as directly object repository. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, just one small thing. This kind of object repository, if you're defining, then you can see that elements are defined at one, and then calling is another class, and we need a knowledge of complete project for doing this. Okay, so the next design pattern which we are going to do, you will see that nothing is required in that case. Just give me a second. Actually, one call is coming, so I'll just pause for 1 minute. Okay, sorry. So I'll come to the next design pattern now, that is POM2 style. So I'll just close everything, and here we'll create the same scenario we'll be writing with the second design pattern. So for that, I'll just copy it and we'll paste it here. We'll call it POM2 style. Okay. So in POM2 style, uh, actually, we don't need this select class. So if you recall, we were not using this at all. Okay, so here these web elements which are defined as public one, instead of public, will make them private. Okay, all the web elements will be made private, and now the constructor in which you're writing will initialize them. That's also fine. Okay, and also if we recall the design pattern, that says that in POM2 style, you will be creating all the web elements as well as method in the same class. That means all the possible scenario on this page, which page we are talking about, the Amazon home page, all the possible scenarios will also be written in the same class. So all the web elements in their initialization and the possible scenarios. Say for example, the possible scenario is search product. So I'll say public void search product. Okay, which product? Let's say we are passing the category string product, and we are also passing the category. Okay, and here how will you be defining them? So again, all those classes which you defined, you need to use them, right? So I'll just copy them, paste them here. Okay, the only thing is it will be private, private, and their initialization also will do in constructor. Okay, so just initializing them. And the third one, that is common element. Okay, so initialized all of them. Now in the search product, uh, we need to call the same method same way. So here it will be first of all we need to write something in search box. So we'll say text box dot set text, and the element will be just defined above. Which is the element defined? Search box is the element. So here we'll simply say search box and text to write as the product. Okay. Now this is expected to throw some exception. So we'll simply say throws exception. Right. Now after text box, next step will be that you need to select something from a drop down. So it will be drop down dot select via visible text search category, and the visible text is category. Next last will be you need to click on an element. So it will be common element dot method is click, where you have to click on search button. So this method will help you in searching. So what we are achieving through this is that all the web elements are also defined at one location. So we are achieving the same functionality which we achieved in POM1, that is keeping all the web elements separate. If something changes in any one of them, uh, you don't have to change at multiple location. Come here and change in this. Okay, then we are using different classes which you defined in the Selenium. So all the Selenium related methods are also separated out, and then we are writing all the possible scenarios also in the same class. So just consider another example. Let's say you are writing the home page for any application. Generally home page consists of or you can say login page is the one which you are automating. So login page consists of which all possible methods are there. Say for example, we have login, we have forget password, we have sign up. Okay, uh, so these are three possible scenarios. So all the web elements first you define here, we'll define them here, then these classes which you are going to interact with, and then their initialization, and all the three methods, that is login, forget password, and sign up. All the three will you will write. By doing this, once everything is automated, all the scenarios possible are automated, then whatever end-to-end scenario you want, that can be done only by calling these methods. And for that, you don't need much expertise, right? So I'll show you. Let me keep this public static void main checked. Now here, first of all, we'll initialize the common driver class. So it will be common driver equal to new common driver. And the browser type will be, let's say, Chrome. After this, it will be driver dot. Okay, let me call it common driver. Okay, then it will be common driver dot in open browser and navigate to the URL. So again, URL I'll define here. Basically the same thing we did in the last class. Okay. Okay. Now also we need to put everything in try catch block. Okay. Now after this, what all you have to do after navigating to the URL, you just have to call the method written in this POM2 style, which is search product. And to call this, we need to initialize our Amazon POM2. So it will be Amazon POM2 style. Let's say I again call it as homepage equal to new, and this needs instance of the browser, right? To initialize this, we need instance of the browser. So I'll be creating WebDriver instance. So it will be WebDriver driver equal to uh, common driver dot get driver, and this will be homepage dot search product, and the product will be, let's say, Apple Watch, and category is, let's say, watches. Okay, so if you see here in this particular method, the only thing visible is search product, everything else is hidden. Okay, and we are interested in the search product only, right? So in a way we are also achieving, I mean, abstraction here, like in POM2, keeping all the implementation part out, and only the this is accessible, that is the search product is accessible, that is what we need right now. Okay, and at the end we can simply close the browser, so it will be common driver dot close browser. So for uh, I mean, if you just teach your uh, manual testers that how to write these scripts, then also you will be fine. Okay, currently I'm using the main method, but in our real framework we'll not be using main method, rather we'll be calling these methods in tests. I mean in test cases with annotation at test, right? Okay, so any questions here, anyone? Okay, so we can call this now, right click, run as Java application. Okay, so yeah, so this is second design pattern, again page object model. So any questions till now? Okay, so these are two design pattern which are quite similar to each other, but there is one problem in with both of these design patterns, especially when we are working with some dynamic website. I'll give you one example. See, if I search for any product here, let's say I'm searching for Apple Watch, okay, and I get the result. If you look at here, these are the results which we are getting. Okay, right? So if I check its HTML code, you can see in this div, you're getting this result, right? Which has an ID as result count. Um, in that you're getting this result, right? And this result you're getting after you search the product. But if you look at this design pattern, in that if you see the web elements, we have defined the web elements in the start, and everything we are initializing in the constructor. When this constructor is called, this constructor is being called even before searching the product. That means if I try to find a web element which is not there at the time you are initializing, or you are initializing this page, then it will throw an exception, element not found. Getting the point? See, what I'm saying is this particular web element where we are getting the result, this comes after search product method is called, right? Now just think that this is not available at the time we land this page. Once we land this amazon.in, that result is not there, right? If we define them in this class at this particular position and then initialize in the constructor, and this constructor is being called, if you see, when this constructor is being called, this constructor is being called before you search the product. That means that element will not be there, but your Selenium will try to search that element and it will throw a simple exception saying element not found. Okay, so to handle this situation, uh, there is another design pattern which is enhanced page object model, which uses a concept known as page factory in it. This page factory is something which is given by Selenium to us. You internally they handle all these problems. Okay, especially this one, that where web element is not available, will be available. It will search only when it will be available. Okay, so is the problem clear to all? Yes, no, maybe? I've not got any response. Yes, no, you can just write in your
Yes,
chat box. Yeah, Girish, sorry.
it is. Yes, it is clear to me.
Okay, good. What about others? Nishtha, Poonam, Rishabh, Sandhya? Any doubt in the problem statement? So the problem we'll face with the normal design patterns is that the elements which are not there at the time of initialization, for them your Selenium will throw element not found exception. How we can achieve that, or how can we resolve that issue? By using another design pattern known as page factory. So that's what I'm going to teach now. Very important. So let's see. Okay. So for that, I'll come back here and we'll go to this enhanced design pattern. So what does this says? Enhanced form design pattern using page factory. Uh, For a better understand, okay, in a page factory, web elements are identified using an annotation known as at find by. So there is an annotation known as and at find by. It supports all the identifiers or locators, ID, name, class name, all of them it supports. So instead of using find elements, we'll be using an annotation known as at find by. At find by annotation uses either how and using or directly locator and its value. So you can see the example. You can use how by how.id using the value. So this is one way, and second way is directly using the locator and its value. Okay. Uh, Benefits. So let's talk about the benefits using page factory. Okay, so the first problem which I discuss, the first point is the solution of that. Web elements of a website are initialized when a web page is loaded. There are some elements which take extra time to appear on the page. If some operation is performed on those elements, they are not available. Uh, in this scenario, uh, if some operation is performed on those web elements and they are not available, they'll simply throw an exception that is element not found. In this particular scenario, page factory, what it will do, it will search for those elements at the time of interaction every time. This resolves the problem of stale element exceptions as well. So what it do is, instead of identifying the element at the time of initialization, it will search for those element again at the time you're going to interact with it. Okay, so I'll show you how we'll do that. So right click new class, I'll create it and I'll call it Amazon page factory style. Okay, so same elements will be used, but here we'll be using an annotation known as at find by. So it will be at find by. In the argument, use the locator and its value. Okay, and then give the name. So here I'll give private web element, and the name will be, what was the name? First one, search box. Okay, and here I'll give the value from any one of this. So this one is for search box. Okay, we'll copy it, or let me copy from here itself. So this one is the second one. For second one, the value is search Dropbox. Okay, and for the third one, instead of ID, it will be XPath, and the value of XPath will copy from here. Okay, so these are the three web elements defined. Okay, now how we'll initialize them? Okay, I'll take one more thing, like in the Amazon, after searching for any product, the result which I'm getting, I'll take that also. So I'll just inspect element with this. It is h1. Okay, so it has an ID as result count. I'll copy it, and here we'll define one more web element at find by ID equal to this value, and it will be private web element result count. Okay, so this is these are the web elements which we have defined. All the All the four web elements are defined. So here we are taking the one which we expect to throw an exception in the previous design patterns. Okay, rest everything will remain same. One more thing, how we initialize them. So initialization will be in the constructor itself. Amazon, I'll create one constructor. We need the browser instance here also. So I'll say driver, and here we will be initializing them. So initialization, how we'll do initialization? There is a class called page factory. One you have to take one from openqa.selenium.support. So page factory dot, there is a method called init elements. Then you need to tell uh, where you are going to initialize them. So tell them you're going to initialize on driver instance, and which element we are talking about, the one defined in this class. This means the same class we are using. Okay, so this is how you will initialize all these web elements. Now rest everything will remain same, nothing will change. So I'll just copy this method from here, put it here, and I know I need to copy these also. Okay, and its initialization. Okay, so rest everything will remain same. Here after we clicked on the search button, now we'll get the text as well. So it will be again in common element, uh, dot get text from the element, which element, from result count. Okay, and let's say I create this as return type as string. So here we'll simply return it. Okay, okay, so I'll create any questions till now, what we have done. So only the way initialization is changed. Here instead of using find element, we are using this, and uh, initialization we are doing using page factory dot init elements. What it do is it keeps all the elements in a cache, in a stream, and then when you try to interact with any element, it will search for that particular web element again at the time of initialize, at the time of interaction. So if any element has changed its position or has changed its location or was not available at the time of initialization, they will also be searched again. So you'll never get element not found exception until unless it's not available actually. Okay, so this is what we achieve. Now let me quickly create another class for demoing it. So it will be right click, new class, and call it demo Amazon page factory. We'll keep this public sector void main checked. Rest everything we can copy from demo pom 2 because everything else is same. You just need to change the class names. So here it will be Amazon page factory style. Rest everything will remain same, nothing will change. Also, after searching this product, we'll get the value in a string variable. So I'll say string result equal to this, and before I go anywhere, I'll just print the result. Let's execute the code. So you can see it got the result. Let's see if it prints the result or not. Okay, so you can see it has printed the result. If you'll try the same scenario using any other pattern, initially only it will fail. Okay, so try that and see what is your observation. Clear? Any questions now? Anyone? Yeah, Rishabh, that's what I'm saying. Why no exception this time? Because we are using page factory and like at the time of initialization, if your Selenium will not find that element, it will not throw exception, but it will keep with it. At the time of interaction, if it like at the time of interaction of that element, like here when we are calling that method, where it is in the page factory, we are calling this method uh, get text. At the time we are going to interact with this element which was not there at the time of initialization, it will search for it again using the same locator. Okay, if it will find it now, then it will return you the element. Otherwise, if at the time of interaction it does not find, then it will throw an exception. Clear? Clear or any doubt? So actually this is the benefit you will get through page factory. Yeah, if you'll never interact with that element, it will never throw any exception even if that element does not exist. It will throw only exception only when it will try to interact. Whereas in the other patterns, whether you interact or not, if that element is not there, it will simply throw an exception. Okay, so any other
So
question?
there are any other benefits apart from this?
Any other benefits?
Any other benefit?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
apart
yeah.
from this.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. There are a couple of more. Okay. So if you don't have any questions here, let's move on to what else we can achieve through Page Factory. Okay. So as I told you that in case of Page Factory, your Page Factory will try to search for the element again at the time of interaction. So that means it might slow down the execution speed if elements are static. If elements are not changing at all, that means I don't need them to be searched again and again. Like on this page, the search box, this drop down and the search button are not never going to change, right? So the elements which are static and you are sure that they will always remain static, what you can do for them is to tell your Selenium not to search for them again. What you can do is you can put all those elements in one cache, okay, using one method called at cache lookup. Okay, so here when you are creating these elements, as I'm sure that the search box will always be there, I'll put one annotation and on it and call it as cache lookup. Okay, just do this. Now what will happen, uh, internally Selenium will create one cache and all these elements they'll keep them in a cache, and at that time you're again trying to interact with them, instead of searching again, it will take the all the all the properties which Selenium uses to find element from that cache and will interact with it. So this is how you will resolve the uh, the you can say this is how you will improve the performance by using a cache so that Selenium does not search for elements again and again, but it can only be used with static elements, the one which you think will never change. Like here on this page, I know that this search box and this drop down and the search button are not going to change. So I'll just put them in a cache lookup, and at the time of interaction, they will not search for them again and again, just take it from its cache and interact. Okay, so this is the benefit you will get. Clear? So yeah, these are the three design patterns. First one was basically an object repository where all your elements are defined at one location. Second one was a page object model where all the web elements are defined initially and then all the possible methods are also written in the same class. And then third you have is page factory. So page factory is enhanced form, enhanced page object model, where you will resolve certain problems like if element is not available at the time of initialization. uh, 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 Next is that uh, uh, next is it will also help you in resolving stale element exception. What does stale element exception means? Stale element is sometimes what happens is few of the elements, they are available, uh, but because of certain operation their position changes. Okay, so if you'll use the older way of element found, like identification, uh, then you might get this tail element exception. But page factory, as I told you, it will search elements again. Okay, so this tail element exception will help you there, will not occur. Okay, Rishabh, you have a question. What will happen if an element is not present on the page but present in cache? Since I was added previously, if it is not available, you'll simply get an element not found exception. See, it's very simple. What we are doing using cache lookup is we are keeping its information at one position. Okay, and when I have to interact, I'll not search it again. I'll just take that information and try to interact with it. If it is not there, we'll get an element exception. If we are not using cache lookup, then also same thing will happen. It will try to search and then fails. Whereas in other one, it will fail at the time of interaction. Exception will remain same. That is element not found exception. Clear, Rishabh? Yeah. So that's all in design patterns, and we are going to use third design pattern because the website which we are going to automate is a dynamic website which changes very frequently. So it's better to use this design pattern, that is page factory. Okay, and yeah, so after the break I'll be starting with uh, the application, and the application we are going to use is mercurytravels.co.in. If you want, if we can go ahead with any other website as well. If this is fine, then we can proceed with this also. Okay, so let's have a break for 7 minutes and then we'll start with this application only if anyone does not have any suggestion for any other website. So I'll start with this. Let's go for a break for 7 minutes and then we'll continue. Okay, so we can continue now. Any questions before I proceed? Okay, so let's start with this then. Let's start with automating this Mercury travels. Okay, so I'll come here. Let me close all this. Okay, so in this first package we have created as Mercury travel, and second we have created as test.mercury travel. Okay, so in the first one, I'll create a class. So let's start mapping which all classes you need. First of all, if you'll see here on this particular page, that is when I reach the home page. Here, let's target few of the things for now. Okay, so one is this home page where I have all these elements. Okay, and then here you can see there is a sub page in it, which is first one is holiday, second one is you can see flight, third one is hotels. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll take this section, okay, and these headings as one page, and then we'll create three more pages, one in which I'll take only holidays, second in which I'll take only flights, and third in which I'll take only hotels. And then we'll be writing certain utilities which will be shared in these three. Okay, so very simple. I'm taking up this section, okay, this section of the code, and then these three also will come there, and for each one of them there will be three pages. First one will be for holiday, second will be for flight, and third one will be for holiday. Okay, so yeah, so I'll just name it as, first one I'll name as Mercury travel, or let's call it empty homepage. Empty homepage. Okay, this is first I'm creating, then I'll create one more class that will be for holiday. So I'll say empty holiday holiday page. Okay, then I'll create one for flights and one for hotels. So let's say empty second one is flights page. Next one will be empty hotels. Empty hotels. Okay, so these are the four pages we have created. The first, so let's start with the home page. This home page. First of all these links which you see here, these links needs to be added. So if I quickly check their HTML, they all are linked. So international holidays, Indian holidays, flights, hotels, foreign exchange, insurance, about us, they all are links. So let me quickly add these web elements, and we'll be using page factory. So I'll be writing using find by. So it will be at find by. So first one will be keeping them private, web element, and the name, let's say I'm calling as international holiday link. This is the first one, and it is identified using link text. The value of link text is international holidays. International holidays. It's capital. Yeah. Copy it. Paste it here. It will be Indian holidays. Yes. Here it will be Indian holidays link. Then similarly you'll keep for flights. So if I go to flights, if I click on flights, you can see I'm reaching to the same page. So either I click on this or either I click on this, both works same, right? So let me copy it. Okay, so the next one is flights, and it will be flights link. Next is hotel, hotels H capital, and it will be hotels link. Okay. Then next is foreign exchange, insurance, about us. You can add all these. Okay. I also need this customer login because I'll be automating user login and register here. Okay. So let me add this customer login. So if you see, it's a link with a text as customer login. So here uh, I'll define this. I'll paste it here, and this I'll change it to customer login. Okay. Then what is next? If we hover over this customer login, we get this user login. So again, it's a link which has text as user login. So I'll copy it. So I'll just copy this, paste twice. One where we'll be using this user login, and we'll call it as user login. Okay, next will be uh, register. So I'll use this register. This has text as register only. So it will be register, and here it will be register link. Okay, then so these are the web elements which I think I'll be needing now. Okay, and also when I click on this user register, I need this text box and these three things, right? So if you check here inside this modal, we have this ID as sign in user email. So I'll just copy it. So it will be at find by. Here we'll be using ID, and the value of ID is this, and the name, I can give it a name as private web element, and then username, or instead of username we'll put it as user email ID. Right, then we need this the second one, which has this as a password. So this I'll copy twice, and then I'll copy this value. So this is password, and I'll set user password. Okay, and then I need to select this login button as well. So I'll just search for this. Uh, it's a button which has a text as login. So I will search it like this: /button, and then text. So see, I'm using methods of XPath here. So it will be log in. If I search, I get this. I'll copy. Okay, there are two matching nodes. So you need to put something extra here. So we can use this form sign in, right? I'll say double slash form, and which has this class at class equal to this. And now you can see only one matching node. So I'll just copy it and we'll use XPath here. Put it, put this, and we'll call it login button. Okay. So similarly, like I have defined all the elements for this login. Okay, like this, you can also define it for register. So when I register, these elements come in, right? So define all these. You first name, last name, then this email ID, password, confirm password, then this drop down and this. Okay, and then register button. So define all these elements. So these are the two methods which you can put on this. I'm doing the one that is for login. You can do the other one that is for register. Okay, so I want everyone to complete this before you come to the next class, and then we need to initialize this class also. So I'll say empty homepage, and here we'll be using driver, and it will be page factory dot init element. uh, Driver is the one which you have to define, and this is the page. Okay, so all the elements are also initialized using this. Then uh, what else you need to interact with those elements? You need all those instance of classes which we defined today only in one of the design patterns. So I'll copy paste from there. So I'll just copy these three. If anything else will be required, we'll add here. I'll define them, and its initialization also. So let me copy this three also, and we'll initialize them here. Okay, and then so I got all the elements also. Now I'll start writing the method. Okay, so this is my home page. So home page, first thing what you'll do, you will verify the title of the page, right? But uh, that I can do directly in a test case as well, because when I navigate to this page, I can simply call the title. So next thing what I'll do, I'll just do this user login. Okay, so the method I'll create will be public void user login. Okay, this is the method with email ID and password that I'll pass here as an argument. So I'll say user email ID comma string user password. Okay, so these are the two variables I'll use. Then okay, here also I've given the same name. So I'll put a small s before it, stating that it's a string, and here also I'll put a small s. Okay, now when you have to do the user login, what you'll do, first of all, you'll move to this customer login, and then you'll move to user login. That means you need to perform a mouse operation also here. Okay, so here I'll create one more instance. I'll call it private mouse operation. So what was that? What was the class we created for mouse? I forget. Let me check. So for mouse operations, we created mouse controls. Mouse controls. Let's say mouse controls. Okay, I'll copy this. Okay, so first thing is you need to, okay, I need to initialize it also. So first of all, let me initialize it, and it needs a driver instance as well. We already have the driver instance. Yeah. So mouse controls, then what is the method? Move to element. Which element? Now see, we have these elements with us. Which one we need? We have to go to customer login. So it will move to that element. And as it is expected to throw some exception, so from here we'll simply say throws exception. Okay. So we'll move to this customer login, then we'll move to user login. After we move to this, we move to this. So it will be uh, mouse or instead we can click on it also. So I'll say text box control, text box dot click. Okay, it is in common element. So common element dot click where? On user login, right? Then once I click on this modal comes up. Okay, so we need to write things in this text box. How will do we do that? Text box dot, it will be set text, and which element? The first one is user email ID, and what text you have to put here? S user email ID. I'll copy it, paste it. Here you need to enter the password, so it will be user password, and here it will be uh, S user password. And then we need to click again, so it will be common element dot click where we have to click on this login button. So login button. Okay, so this is user login method. Now here I can write one more method. As I told you, it will also write register. Okay, so if I have to write register, I'll say public void register, and for that we need, again we need to do this mouse control. Okay, so as this method is repeating, can I move it out? Yes, I'll write one private method, private void, and I'll call it move to customer login, because it's being shared. Okay, and here I can simply pass uh, here I can just simply copy this and put, and here I can call the method. I'll say move to customer login. This is the private method I'm calling. Similarly, here also we need to put throws exception. Here also we need to put throws exception, and we'll call this method move to customer login. So you can see one of the line was being shared between multiple methods. So I just moved it out to a private method. Okay, so if something will change, I don't have to go change at multiple locations. At one location, change is enough. Okay, so like this, you can write register, and you can write any of the method which you can think will be used here. Okay, so any questions till now? So can I expect from you all that you'll complete the register method here? So register, you can see it consists of, if I go to register, it consists of This text box, one, two, three, four, five, six. Six are text box. One is a drop down and one is a button. Very simple. You have seen, you've done it many a times. Just identifying the element will be the task and completing it. Okay. Okay. Then I'll come to this holiday section. So I'll complete this section. What we need one this text box, then this start date, right? Then duration, and then type of holiday. Okay, this will come only once I'll select this. Then it will say for example I'll select destination, maybe uh, where you want to go. I want to go to Germany, let's say. Yeah, I'll select Germany. Okay, then start date, I can put any date, maybe 25th. And then from the drop down, I'll select 4 days. And then from, okay, this, okay, so I got these packages. I only got one package. Yeah, so not sure why this is not working. This, I guess, some defect. So then you can click on the search holiday and you will get the result. Similarly for flights, selecting round trip, one-way trip, then this from city to city journey date, and then this return date, selecting adults, childs, infants, and then travel type, and then search flight. This will be the one method for you. Then similarly, one-way trip you can select, and so on. Okay, so all these elements you can define first. Whatever is there on the holiday, you can define all of them. One, two, three, four, five things you need to select here. Then come to the flights. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. 10 elements these, and then come to hotels. And then one, two, three, four, five, six, and 7. 7 elements here. Then think of possible scenarios, like here I can book a round trip, I can book a one-way trip. Okay, so this way you can try automating it. Okay, any questions till now? Okay, so this will be one homework for you all, that I want you all to complete one that I told you, that user login and register. Okay, then I want you to complete these elements of holiday and at least write one scenario. Okay, try selecting the date as well. Okay, see how you can use this calendar to select the date. Okay, any desired date. For now, keep it simple. Maybe try accessing one of the date of November only. Maybe later on we can add the scenario where we can add future dates as well. Okay, and then from the drop down, I'll from the drop down select any one package, and then here select anything, and then come to flights, book a round trip, book a one-way trip. Okay, then hotels. And tomorrow, what I'll continue with, whatever scenarios you'll write, like this user login, register, and this. Okay, we'll convert them into test cases. Currently, we just have written test scenarios. Like this is a user login. Okay, once I log into it, if you see, once I log into this, here you can see the text has changed from customer login to welcome Saurabh. That means this will verify that I have logged in successfully. So I'll put this as as an assertion. So we'll use testing framework here. Okay, and then once I log in, then I can access this dashboard. Okay, then I can access. Oh, my bad. I just closed it. So I can go on this my booking section. Then I can also use this logout and so on. So I will convert all the scenarios into test cases. Okay, and write those test cases in this test folder, using all proper assertions and all. Okay, and then uh, we will create certain test cases, I mean test case XML files, call them through XML files, and then we'll move on to the other parts like creating reports. I mean, beautifully looking reports, and then second section, that is one is reports. Then we'll also insert logs. We'll also insert screenshots. Okay, one thing I forgot in this, that is taking screenshot. One of the classes left, so probably will tomorrow will complete that also. And wherever any test case will fail, we'll call that screenshot method, and then we'll start with the data driven testing, and all the configuration will move to a config folder. So just recall the framework which we thought of designing. So we'll complete all the remaining sections. Okay. So if I go to QA Tech Hub and then Selenium with Java, Selenium modular framework. So this is the framework, right? So we are done with this. We learned these design pattern and started with it. One of the class file we created, and then we'll move to this frameworks. This tomorrow we'll move to this where we will convert all these methods written here to test cases. Then we'll call them through XML files. Okay, and then all the configuration will move to config properties, and then we'll start with the data driven part. For data driven part, you need to learn first how to read from an Excel sheet. Okay, so that probably will start next week. So before we'll start with Excel driver, I'll also teach you how to do how to read and write from an file. Okay, so yeah, that's what we are going to do. Any questions till now? So to answer your question, Rishabh, Excel driver is not done. We'll be doing it next week, most probably. Okay, so that's all for today. Now, my simple request from you all, please complete some of the methods so that you all are on same page. And probably I'll also try to complete some of these methods so that we can directly start on test cases tomorrow. Okay, so that's all for today. See you tomorrow, same time, and probably we'll spend more time tomorrow. We'll see if we can take out one more hour. Okay, guys, so I'm ending the session now. Thank you everyone for joining. See you tomorrow. Please complete whatever I've just mentioned. Thanks, everyone.